Hello, I'm going to take you on a little tour today of Final Cut Pro and the use of color to do some special effects. I was trying to do a day for night sequence using the 3-color corrector and wasn't having much luck, so I decided to try my hand at color and picked up a few tips along the way that I will share. One thing before you get started in trying to work with color out of Final Cut Pro is that color does not support a lot of common compressed video formats. So in order to get files in and out of color to and from Final Cut Pro, you have to make sure that you're working one of the supported formats. The most commonly supported format is Apple ProRes. If you go into the documentation for color, you'll see a table of the supported import and export formats for color. The most common we'd probably use are ProRes, some of the other uncompressed DVC Pro, and other formats. Going back into Final Cut Pro, you'll see that only ProRes and the uncompressed formats are supported. So you might as well convert your clips to ProRes at the beginning and save yourself the trouble. If they're not in the correct format, what happens when they go back into Final Cut out of color is the clips are greatly shortened. So a 3-second clip turns into about a second. So you want to ensure that you're working in the ProRes format, both on the sequence and the clips. So what I've done here already is I've taken this clip. My camera shoots in H.264 format. So you'll see that my original clip is H.264. I used the export out, the batch export out of Final Cut Pro to do the, just the plain export using QuickTime conversion out of Final Cut Pro to save as ProRes format. So you change that in here. Apple ProRes 422, and you're off. So what I've done to save time here for this tutorial is I've already exported my original 2 clips into clips ending in PR. Also, you want to make sure your sequence is in that same format. So if you go to your sequence settings, you'll see that I'm in ProRes 422 format here. So with that, I can just take my 2 clips. I just went outside to the front of the building and shot a couple of clips. So I'm going to take those and drag them into the timeline. There, and scoot them back. So now I've got my little movie. Whatever other things you want to do to this before you go into cloud color. So I'll just go ahead and save my project, and then I'll go in and do a send to color, which will launch color. I'll call this sequence day for night. You'll see color begin to launch. And the first thing that will happen is you'll see Colors Workspace, your clips on the left with the graphs below them, and this big workspace with lots of tabs across the top. So let's take a quick tour of Colors interface. It's organized with tabs across the top. The first tab it's just some setup information. You can see the clips you've got laid out. There's project settings down here and user preferences. The first tab in the sequence is the primaries in, and this is where you would make overall color correction like you're probably used to seeing in Final Cut Pro on the 3-way color corrector. And it's broken out by RGB and luminance values, so you can come in here and adjust individual color curves for the 3 values. You can set Bezier type points to work on only the high or low end of the color spectrum. To reset these, you go in and click this little blue button at the top. You can also do the same thing with the luminance. So if you wanted to hold your blacks down and drag your midtones up, you could do something like that, like you're kind of used to seeing. Again, reset that. The second tab is the Secondaries tab. This tab allows you to make adjustments of the hue, saturation, and luminance of individual colors. So if you wanted to spot color correct based on a color, so if you wanted to change someone's sweater from green to blue, this is where you would do it. You can see here, for example, I've got a little bit of blue in these windows up here. If I didn't like that, I could come over to the saturation tab and drag my blue down, and you'll see that those windows will go to kind of a gray, but the lights stay the same color and the plants still stay green and the bricks still stay red because I've only pulled the blues out of that window. The third tab across the top, I'll go ahead and reset that before I forget. The third tab across the top are the color effects, and this is to me kind of where things get interesting. It allows you to build different effects by combining these different elements like film grain or hue or different things like that. The interesting thing about color is it comes with a lot of presets. So for example, I was searching, my original intent was to do day for night. So here in the day for night folder, there are a number of 5 different day for night effects that I can choose from. So for example, I can drag one of those effects over into the work area, and you'll see that that's been now applied to my image. You'll also see that it's made up of these different little building blocks from this palette over here on this side. So something that's kind of interesting is to learn as you explore the different effects in the library is how they're built based on these different elements, and you can actually modify them if you like. For example, let's say I wanted to give a film look to this shot as well. I can just take these little elements off of the palette and drag them into the work area and connect them, and you'll see that this will give my shot a film look. And then if I go over into the parameters tab of any one of these, you can see this is where you would adjust the different elements for that particular thing. So for example, here's the adjustments to a blur, which is a spread, and you can see that this blur is applied over here. So if I go back to my film look and I crank up the grain to something that you can tell on the video, you'll see that the film grain has been applied over to on the image over there. Again, you can just drag and drop these little building blocks and play with them. Go ahead and get rid of that. And go back to my bin. So I'll go on to my, let's just say that I'm going to take that as it is, and I'll go on to my next clip. And something that's kind of fun to do is just to go through these different effects. There's a number of different bleach bypasses, and drag them out and try them out and see what it looks like. I think it's a lot of fun and interesting ways to explore with some pretty powerful image manipulation. So let's say I'm done clowning around and I want to go ahead and finish up my day for night. I can just drag day for night 1 off into the palette, and that gives it that look. Let's say I'm happy with that. The next tab in the sequence are the primary outs. So if you think of the entire process as kind of a pipeline, the primary outs adjustments are applied after the effects. So coming in, first off you do adjustments to your clips in the primaries and secondaries. The color effects are applied, and then the primary out. So that's the next thing that the image will pass through in the pipeline. So if you wanted to make adjustments of the entire thing for broadcast standards or something like that, this is where you would do it. The next tab over is the geometry tab. So if you wanted to zoom in or adjust the skew of an image, you can do that here. And finally, I didn't mess around with the still store, not sure what that's for. And the last thing is the render queue. So once you're happy with the adjustments to your clips, you can add all of your clips to the render queue and press Start Render. So now my render is complete. If I want to, I can hit the space bar to play through the loop, see what the clips look like. See, going back and forth between the two clips. Spacebar again to stop. You can also use these controls over here to back up to the next clip, move forward to the next clip, etc. And then these two buttons play back and forth. Hit the escape to get away from that. Play backwards. And escape to get out. So if you're happy, you can send the whole lot back to Final Cut Pro by going up to File, Send to Final Cut Pro. And now we're back into Final Cut Pro, and the whole color-corrected sequence out of color shows up as a new sequence, Sequence 1 from Color. We can double-click on that, and we'll see that now we have a new sequence with the effects applied to it down below in the title New Sequence from Color. I can play that, and it looks like it did back in color. So that's a quick tour of sending clips to and from Final Cut Pro to Color. I hope it's been helpful, and thanks very much.